Welcome to another episode of Fight Game Chronicles. I am James Lynch. He is Kevin Mubenga. Kevin, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, brother. Happy holidays to you, my friend. Happy holidays to our producer, Taylor, and the rest of the team. And yeah, we're here.
And all of our audience as well, too. Thanks so much
Correct.
for watching. If you're catching this, we got a lot to get into as we do every week, but let's start first with boxing. Canelo Alvarez getting the win over Callum Smith. Height and reach, what? It didn't seem to matter. Canelo Alvarez putting on a really good performance here. What was your biggest takeaway from this fight? Because I thought Canelo did exactly what he needed to do to get the job done.
Several things I took away from that fight. The first thing I took away from that fight is that this guy seems to be a machine or something, man, because every punch that Callum threw at him, he just kind of like and slips everything, moves everything. And even when he gets hit, it doesn't look like it even affects him by any of these guys. Size does not matter for a guy like that, like we've said before. And, I'm starting to think, man, I'm starting to really think that the Mexican meat really is good out there, bro, because he's carrying the weight and he's knocking guys out and he's not getting hurt. And his body looked great. He didn't drop around. I mean, it was like a perfect fight for the guy. So it's just like, I don't know, man. He's starting to look like a machine now. It gets a little scary, It gets a little scary when they start looking like that. But overall, I think he was exceptional. I think it was exactly what we thought it would be, right?
Yeah. No, we did. And we sort of talked about, because you have to, it's sort of the storyline going in is sort of the height and reach for his opponent. It didn't really matter. I mean, he could have been in there with King Kong the way Canelo looked. He looked amazing on Saturday. But, the question we had going in was, what is next for Canelo? I tend to think he's going after some more belts, but do you think we will see sort of a mega fight after this? Or what are you hearing, man? Because I think it's interesting, his next move.
Well, James, do you remember from our last conversation, we discussed Earl Spence fighting Earl Spence. And who shows up to the fight? Who shows up to the fight?
Yes,
Earl Spence. Yeah. That is the right move for Earl Spence. Yeah. But other than that, for Canelo, yes, he has several options. Mm-hmm. So Benavidez obviously was stripped of the WBC belt. So that's the belt that was on the line, including the Ring Magazine belt, including the WBO belt. I believe that was on the line versus Callum Smith. You see the WBO or WBA, I can't remember, but one of those two belts was on the line. So now he is the WBC, the WBA, and Ring Magazine lineal champion, which means he's the true champion at 168 because he beat the man that beat the man that beat the man, right? So now you have the IBF belt with Caleb Plant. You have the WBO or WBA. Taylor, double check if it's the WBO. I think that has Billy Joe Saunders with that belt. So there's two guys in his weight that have the belts that if he wants to become the undisputed and unify all those belts, his only two options are Caleb Plant or Billy Joe Saunders first or Caleb Plant second. Whichever order he wants to put them in, it's up to him. And he controls that too. That's another thing that's really good for Canelo now. Canelo controls his whole destiny. There's no promoter, there's no managers telling him what to do, when to do it. It's him and his team. And they control the full everything. So you're going to see Canelo fight more often. You're going to see Canelo fight the guys he wants to fight, because what's always been stopping Canelo from getting those type of fights was the people that were negotiating and talking for him. Now he talks for himself. Mm-hmm. So you can look out for one of those two guys to fight him this year. I think he will unify those. Yeah. So Billy Joe is the WBO champion. Yes, mm-hmm. And then the WBA is what they fought for this weekend with Callum Smith.
Yeah. And just, one sort of last thing on the fight, I think the fact that he was so dominant, the fact he looked so good, and like you mentioned, being his own boss, being able to dictate, hey, I want to fight whoever I want. I want to fight as active as I want. I mean, this really couldn't have been a better ending to the year for Canelo Alvarez in terms of he's the guy, right? People are going to want to fight him, and it's not the other way around to him trying to chase, big fights or whatever. I think you're going to see matchups, pop up for him next year. And I think no matter what, it's going to be a big 2021 for Canelo Alvarez. What do you think?
I agree 100%. And the fact that he was able to squeeze this fight in at the end of the year,
exactly, yeah,
instead of moving it up to January, it just gives him perfect time. Canelo only wants to fight on 2 dates. It's mm-hmm. May and it's September. May for Cinco de Mayo and September for Mexican Independence Day, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So those are the only 2 dates that matter to that guy. So what he did is he off-balanced it to make sure that he still gets his May date and gets a September date. Brilliant move. So, finish out the year strong. Get a title under your belt and then under your waist, and then move forward from there.
Sticking with boxing, although this is an MMA and boxing show, it kind of comes together. I told you our worlds come together all the time with MMA and boxing. And yesterday we find out Jake Paul is going to be boxing Ben Askren. Now, here's the latest on what I'm hearing. Okay. So obviously yesterday, for those who didn't see the sort of the chain of events here, Chael Sonnen of all people goes on Twitter and says that Jake Paul has said he is fighting Ben Askren. Then my buddy Cole Shelton from BJ Penn gets a hold of Ben Askren. Is this happening? Yes, it is. Puts a statement out, articles up on bjpenn.com. And then Ben himself comes out and does like a minute video, which by the way, every media outlet took and uploaded on their channel. I noticed that like wildfire, whenever something like this happens, everyone puts something up. So it looks like the fight's happening, but then I saw Ariel Helwani from ESPN say that it's not a done deal. I think it is going to happen. Froggie here. Honestly, I think it's one of those fights where, I mean, there's nothing stopping either guy. Askren's not with the UFC anymore, right? He's retired, so technically he's a free agent. Jake Paul is Jake Paul. He can do whatever he wants. What was your reaction to this? I'm sure you've been sort of keeping tabs over the last 24 hours.
Honestly, you want to be honest with you?
Yes, let's hear it.
I think that I think he might have picked the perfect guy to fight, dude. I'm honest. I'm going to be honest about this.
Yeah.
Because as much experience as Ben Askren has in fighting and as much experience as Ben Askren has in wrestling prior to becoming a professional fighter, he can fight on that stage. He knows how to. I mean, you saw him run off 29, 25 straight wins before his first loss. Mm-hmm. So he has the pedigree. But what is his weakness that we all know is his weakness, and everybody in the world knows this about him? It's striking, and more specifically, his hands. So you compare that. Now, remember, I told you this kid is getting trained by BJ Flores. You guys gotta don't let that. Like, that's a real fighter. Like, that's a real cruiserweight. That's a guy with over 30 fights in his career. He's fought for belts before. So he's not just Joe Blow on the street. You know what I mean? He's getting trained by a real fighter. And you take the 2 years in account that he's been training. You take some sparring in account. He's feeling very confident. And then he's watched Ben. He picked Ben. You got to understand. He picked that guy. Like, he said, oh, okay, I'm going to fight an MMA guy. How about I fight that guy? Because he saw, why Ben? Out of everybody, why Ben? He picked Ben because he knew Ben couldn't strike. So he picked the right guy. So now, Ben, you better not let down the MMA community, brother. I'm telling you right now. I know the contract's not signed, but if he does get that fight, please, bro, because he's a real corny guy too anyways. He just does real funny stuff and says real funny things, and it's all cool. Respect to him, But, dog, don't lose to this guy, bro. If you lose to this guy, it's done. It's over, dude. We're not gonna hear the last of it, and so I'm hoping that if when the contract gets signed, I hope that Ben really takes to striking. He's a fighter, so he should be able to beat this guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just from experience, from fighting for over 10 years, and he should beat this guy and should beat him soundly. But this guy's very confident because he picked you. There's a reason why you're fighting him. You didn't pick him; he picked you. There's a reason why he picked you. So we shall see.
It reminds me a bit, and people are going to think I'm a little far out here with this example, but it reminds me a bit of when George St. Pierre came back to fight Michael Bisping, right? Michael Bisping was a middleweight champion, but that was an upset. If you remember, he knocked out Luke Rockhold, a short notice fight. And I think GSP saw a weakness in Bisping, and we saw him take that fight and win the belt. I think if Yoel Romero was the champ, I think if there was someone else like Whitaker that was the champ at the time, I don't think St. Pierre is coming back. So it kind of reminds me of this, like you said, where Paul's not calling out Yoel Romero. He's not calling out, I know they sort of talked about that, Bisping as well. But Askren, you're right. I mean, there is a very glaring weakness in his game, and that is the stand-up. A lot of people, that Maia fight, it really did not help his case because his striking was atrocious in that fight. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it here at all. I mean, it was one of those things where a lot of people are saying this is the worst striker in UFC history. He's terrible, all this. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. His striking did not look very good in that fight. However, I did a video on this yesterday, and I got crucified for it on my channel because people are like, Jake Paul's going to finish Ben Askren in the first round and all that. And I get all that. Trust me, Paul has, he's done everything he needs to do. He's, like you said, working with the right people. Training, he's young. He's going to have a little bit of a weight and height advantage in this fight, right? Because I think Ben walks around maybe 185, 190. Jake Paul's, I think, closer to 200 pounds. So I'll give him that. But I do want to remind people that Jake Paul being an NBA player in his last fight, okay? Because a lot of people are focusing on the knockout, and I get it. It was spectacular, and he's got power, and he certainly looks like he can go out there and beat Ben Askren. But the thing you mentioned is something I think people are forgetting about, and this guy is a martial artist. Not just that, this guy's an Olympian. He's been a professional athlete forever. He's fought professional fighters. This idea that Jake Paul is going to go out there and steamroll Askren, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. You nailed it on the head. You nailed it on the head. I don't think he goes in there and he just steamrolls him because of the pedigree and the career that he's had. Like he's competed at high levels a lot, and he knows how to compete at a high level. So he's not going to get scared. If anything, Askren is actually coming in there with confidence because he's fighting somebody that he knows is not a professional fighter. Yeah. I think he's very confident about the fact that he's going to fight this guy, and it's just as he should be, because just imagine like, you know, a guy walks into your gym and, you know, and he says he wants to spar you, and, you know, he's been training, but, you know, like, okay, he's not a professional fighter, but I'm gonna, you know, it's kind of like the same feeling, you know, that's what it feels like to me. But it's with everything that you said, with the pedigree, with the years of experience, with the Olympic background, with the NCAA background in wrestling, and then you know, winning 25 in a row, 23 in a row in the other leagues before jumping to the UFC, where when the going got tough and he got better opposition and tougher guys, he folded. So that pedigree mixed with the bad striking gives Jake the perfect recipe, because if he pulls this off, first of all, I feel like it should be an 8-round fight, and Askren went 19-0, not 25. We were 19-0 before his first loss. So if I'm Ben, or if I'm in Ben's corner, I'm gonna keep boxing him, and I'm gonna take him late. I'm gonna go late. I'm gonna go till like, I hope this is an 8 or 10 round fight. If it's an 8 or 10 round fight, then Askren should be working on getting this guy really tired. Because as a fighter, you should know that guys come out pumped up, all excited, ready to knock out, do all of this. I feel like as the fight keeps going, I think that the levels drop, and then Ben could show that he's a pro and stay. Because that's the difference between a pro and a lot of guys can come in there 2-3 rounds and just go crazy and start to try to knock you out. But as the fight progresses, you're getting tired, and then you're slowing down. And then as a pro, you know that, and you should be rising up, or you should maintain a certain level where he can't come here. You know, I know he can't. He doesn't have enough experience to come here, so he should be able to hold him there. But again, we'll see, man. We'll see, because that's why it's called boxing. You put 2 gloves on, you get in there, and we've seen all types of crazy shit happen in there before.
Of course. And there's a couple other things I wanted to mention on this, and then we'll move on to the next topic, because this is such a fascinating sort of setup here. So we don't know the rules yet, like you said, but I have a video on my channel, youtube.com/LynchOnSports, where I talked to Askren a couple of weeks ago about this exact scenario if he was to box Jake Paul. And Askren flat out said, look, I don't have knockout power. Okay, I'm not going to go out there and, you know, kind of gave away the game plan, but I think people know he's not a knockout artist, right? He said the way to beat Jake Paul is to, like you said, just beat him up and go the distance and try and outwork him, and, you know, maybe get the later round. So that is something that he's sort of being aware of. And he also spoke, you know, honestly about his power as well. Like he said, in training, he's stunned a few guys. He's never knocked anyone. He didn't mention any names. Obviously, that would be a bad move, but he just sort of talked about in his career, you know, over 10 years, he never needed to use his striking, right? Because he's the wrestler. So there's that. Yeah. And then the other thing is this whole hip thing, right? People said he's getting hip surgery. He never got hip surgery. So he I guess he opted not to get it. Apparently the hip's fine. He's good to go. I mean, Ben is not a dumb guy. People saying that he's doing this for money. He's not. Ben has all this successful stuff outside the cage. He's got a gym. He's got other stuff going on. He's doing this for the challenge. There's a reason this guy was an Olympian. So all these people are saying he's desperate. He's doing this, you know, because he needs a paycheck. That's not the case. So I just wanted to give some context to this, because like I said, a lot of people here very adamant that Ben Askren's going to get knocked out early. And I just think, guys, you got to look at the resume. He has some good wins in MMA. Douglas Lima was a good win. Koreshkov was a good win in Bellator.
I cannot believe that he beat Lima. That's so crazy to me that he has Lima under his resume.
Oh, Lima does have a weakness in wrestling, to be fair, but still, yeah, he's got to win over him. Survived a Robbie Lawler punch. I don't care what people said. I mean, a lot of guys get knocked out by Robbie Lawler. He survived that. Granted, you know, there's a controversy with the referee and all that, but still,
I think he lost the fight. I watched that fight. I think he lost that fight, but he won the fight. But I think he lost the fight.
Well, because the referee stepped in. For those who haven't seen the fight, basically Askren got a submission hold on Lawler. Herb Dean steps in thinking that Lawler was out. He wasn't, and they called the fight as a win for Askren. But still, the fact that he survived a Robbie Lawler knockout, I mean, Jake Paul's not Robbie Lawler, guys. I'm sorry. He's not. Like, he's good, and I agree with what you say about the progression he's making. But guys, he knocked out an NBA player with no combat sports experience. Like, that's Ben Askren's been fighting real fighters for 10 years. So that is something I just wanted to point out. By the way, betting odds quickly before we move along. Jake Paul is a favorite right now. I think he's like a minus 130. So there you go.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What I mean, because people look at that Maia fight and they say this guy's the worst striker in UFC history. But I'm telling you guys, go look at the body of work overall. The striking's not great, but it's not. I mean, to say he's the worst striker ever, I could find probably some.
Can you imagine being a fighter, dude, and you've dedicated your life to this, and you're a fighter, and you've won 19 in a row, and you have 20 something wins, and you've only lost once, 2-3 times, and the odds come out, and you're not favored against a guy who's not a pro. I mean, what did we talk about again? People are so gullible in fighting that they could just believe anything and go. The smart money is on Ben, but the right bet is on Jake, because if you bet on Jake, you're gonna make more money. It makes more sense. But I don't know how he became the favorite. You know what I mean? If he wasn't the favorite,
that's what it comes down to. It's really people look. It's literally the perfect storm right now, because Jake Paul got this viral knockout. Everyone knows Jake Paul's knockout, as opposed to, and then people know Ben getting knocked out. So it's like it's like this perfect storm of where I think Jake Paul's being maybe a little overrated heading into this, and I think Askren might even be a little bit underrated, because look, the Masvidal fight, 9 times out of 10, if he doesn't duck his head, Masvidal's not getting a first round finish. Look at Masvidal's career. How many first round finishes he has? Like none. It's the fact that he went shot for the takedown. Masvidal knew that. It was like he came in, Askren put his head down. It's like the worst thing you could do. It was like literally a perfect storm in terms of that happening. So we'll see. I'm intrigued though. A lot of, by the way, all these media people in MMA being like, you're gonna watch it. Come on, people.
Of course, everybody's gonna watch it. We're all gonna watch it, because when he finally fights a real professional fighter, he picked. I'll tell you what though.
No, he
picked the right guy. Yeah, he picked the right guy. He picked the right guy. Because that guy's a clout chaser, first and foremost. I know that, because he spent 2 years calling us out, since calling some of my guys out. For 2 years straight, I had to get on Twitter every day and see this guy, and we'll just sit there and be like, look at this guy. So he's a clout chaser guy, and he found the right clout guy to chase. Now, if you get your ass knocked out by this fucking guy, oh my God, please. Just delete Twitter, delete Instagram, because you better beat this fucker. For this, you better do this for MMA, because if you don't,
it's going to be hard to come back from that. But can you imagine the self-promotion that's going to go into this? Like, Askren can talk. He can sell a fight. I mean, it's all the credit to Masvidal for getting that win, but Masvidal's nowhere near a superstar if it wasn't for Askren building up that fight. I mean, people forget that. Askren was like, it was a huge build-up. Ben
is, he's the perfect cringy kind of guy. Like, he's really dorky and like really cringy, but then, he's a wrestler, and he embraces being cringy guy. He embraces that character and embraces being all weird and shit. So that's cool, but it's a clout chaser to me, no, that's just what he is. So he found the perfect clout to chase. So you got your guy, perfect guy. That guy has all the clout that you need in order to get you all the clout that you want. All you got to do is pull it off. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
If you look at the numbers, by the way, last thing I'll say on this is, that same the Masvidal card that he fought on when it was Askren to Masvidal, that card had John Jones on it. He fought who did he fight? Thiago Santos. If you look at the views on YouTube, who had the most views that week leading into that fight, of that entire fight week, of all the fighters, it was Askren. It was Askren and Masvidal. That was the people's main event that weekend. And nothing against John Jones. He's still a superstar, but I don't think people realize the following and the interest that people have in Askren, whether they want to see him lose, like we're sort of talking about here, or the people who, they think he's funny. So that's another thing to consider with this fight, where it's going to do great numbers regardless, because it's two huge fan bases coming together. But anyways, talked enough about this. Let's talk about Anthony Pettis. Someone you're very familiar with, obviously fought Nate Diaz last year, but Anthony Pettis winning his fight over the weekend, getting a win over Alex Morono. It wasn't an easy fight. He ended up not winning that first round and was able to come back and win the last 2 rounds, but he's a free agent. And I think this might be like the quickest free agent to another promotion thing I've ever seen. But Pettis announces yesterday he's a free agent, and here we are today, going to be fighting in the PFL, going to be going for those $1 million, and he's going to be fighting at lightweight. Just your reaction to that first? I'm not surprised. He's going for the money.
Yeah, I mean, guys like Pettis who've been around, the reason why, Pettis got that fight with Nate is because he's been around for a while, first and foremost. They built him, he built a good career for himself, and, with the highlight kicks and all of this and all of that, between, was it Strikeforce or WEC? Was it WEC?
WEC, yeah.
WEC, where he did, I was watching him from over there. And then, got to the UFC, did what he did, held the title for when he had it. And then, so he's done well in his career. He's done really good. He was on the cover of the cereal thing. So, he's done well, But if I was on his team, what's the rush? What are we rushing? I don't understand what is the rush. Can somebody tell me something I don't know? Because first of all, PFL is not coming back until the summer.
Yeah.
So they're not coming back to the summer. So maybe somebody can tell me something I don't know. Maybe the money was so good, that was on the table. I mean, I know those guys at PFL. Usman's over there, Mo Usman's over there, and he's in the $1 million tournament. So we work with that guy, and that ain't coming back till summertime, late spring, summer. So what is the rush? For a guy like him, should have took his time. And I hope it's not a long-term deal. I hope for him that it's not a long-term deal. I hope it's a one-off, 1 or 2, 3, something like that. Because realistically, the power in being a free agent is controlling your destiny and taking the time to control your destiny. Now, when these guys become free agents and they just sign after a week, 2 weeks of being a free agent, dude, that is the longest you've ever been without a contract. Why are you rushing to sign a deal? Yeah, man, you have enough. You've done enough. You have the name. You have the resume. You have the looks. You know how to. You just won your last fight. And you fought everybody that there is to fight. Why are you? And you're still young. He's not even old. He's what, 32, 33? Somewhere there.
I'll go look it up right now.
He's not an old guy. You know what I mean? So it's like, bro, like what's gonna happen? The opportunities are gonna go away. Like, I don't understand. So I don't get it when these guys sign so fast and so quick. I really don't get it. I wish that he took more of his time. I wish that he checked the whole field. Maybe he did. Maybe he's been doing this, because remember, him signing this deal meant that his contract was up. Yeah. Right. So he finished out the contract to the last fight, but he knew after this last fight, I was going to leave anyways. You see what I'm saying? Because he knew it was on the table for him. The UFC said
he wanted to stay with the UFC. He would have re-signed before that last fight.
Correct.
I mean, that's what you do to get some security there. So
I'm assuming that he already had this in the fold, you know what I mean, for himself, and he just jumped the gun as soon as time presented itself.
Well, and a couple things on that. Number one, I think there's kind of like a weird relationship with PFL and the UFC because they're both on ESPN. There's, I feel like in some ways there's kind of like this, I don't know, handshake deal or something. I don't know. It's just, I wonder if he sort of told the UFC, look, like, I want to go make more money. They're like, well, look, you're not going to win a title again. I mean, he just lost earlier this year, was finished actually. So I think he kind of knew his ceiling in the UFC, and at lightweight, what is he going to be, Khabib? Of course not. So, or whoever is the champ at this point. So I think that's part of it, where it was probably like facilitated that way. And two, I do wonder if he's just like, you know what? I don't have to worry about this over the holidays. Let's get this over with. Let's announce the deal. But I'm with you. First time he's been a free agent ever since having this much clout in terms of being a former champ and all that. Why not take your time, go to the highest bidder? Maybe PFL was something he's thought about for a while. I don't know. Can't get in the head there. But just very surprised that it happened.
You do one-offs, dude. Okay, yeah. I'm about to give you guys the game right now.
Let's hear it.
Let me give you guys the game.
I love talking.
You control your own destiny, guys. Okay, when you're a fighter, okay, you don't sign long-term deals when you've built up the career that he's built for himself. You don't go do 5, 6, 7, 8 fight deals. You don't do that. Mm-hmm. You control what you can control. You go over here, you do a fight here, you beat this guy here, you move over there, you go over there and you do that over there. You go over there, you go do that over there. In this time that we're in now, you want to be an entity yourself, okay? These are leagues, and all of these organizations all control the fighters. No fighter is controlling himself. Canelo took control of his career. So not until Canelo can do what he wants. I'm not saying Pettis is on Canelo's level. I'm just saying that he's done enough for himself to where he strings off a win here, then goes over here, beats this guy here, then and goes and takes a boxing fight. Like, dude, you could do so many things you want to do and get paid so much money and control your whole thing. But now you're stuck in a 2-3 year contract, gonna finish out your career over here. You win one, you lose one, you win one, win another, lose, and then you're out. Like, I don't know, bro. I guess, I mean, power to him. I hope that it works out well for him. But the blueprint is shown. Floyd showed us the blueprint. Canelo's following the blueprint. These guys somehow don't see it. And I think in mixed martial arts, a lot of guys have been scared of that. Early in Nick's career, Nick was in Pride, WEC, Strike Force, and there was no money in mixed martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
There was not the way it is now. But that was the right idea, but that was too early for that. Right, you're talking about 4 or 5 different leagues in a 15-year career. It's never 15 years in the UFC. It was 2-3 years in the UFC, 2-3 years in Pride, 2-3 years in WAC in WEC, 2-3 years in Strikeforce, and you built up and you accumulate, beating all these guys, and you know what I'm saying. And then that lifts you up. These guys need to learn that in this time and age, especially when you've built the brand for yourself, you control your brand and you control where you go and how this thing goes. especially when you've been a former champion in 2 different organizations.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's a little bit surprising. Actually, another sort of an MMA example of this is kind of Paige Van Zandt in a way, where she didn't go to Bellator. She decided to go to BFC because the money was good. And yes, she's tied to them, but she can still go back to MMA as far as I know. And also she's the face of this thing. So of course she's going to get more money than if she goes to Bellator, where she's stuck with a bunch of other flyweights. So kind of adding to that point a little bit. And quickly, you mentioned Nick. I think a lot of people forget when Nick left the UFC the first time, he actually headlined a card on the regional scene in California. Forget the name of the promotion. I think it was actually his coach had made the promotion or something, but yeah, that's what I mean. It showed that he's the entity. He had lost a couple in the UFC, but he was like, look, I'm a big enough name that I can headline a card. And I know he got paid well for that fight. So it's one of those things where you got to look at your worth and your brand. So yeah.
Correct.
That's kind of what we're talking about here. All right, let's get back to boxing here. We got Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell coming up here. First, can I just say this as just sort of like an outsider a little bit? Why are they doing this card on January 2nd? It's not great timing. People got, holidays and stuff. I don't know. Do you find the timing a little bit weird on this?
So the fight has been rescheduled twice, I believe. No, once already. So the fight was not scheduled for January 2nd, nor was it scheduled to take place in Dallas. The fight was originally scheduled to take place in Florida, I believe, and I believe it was supposed to be in November or December. Something of that nature, the fight was supposed to take place. Long story short, Luke, I believe, contracted COVID, and then we had to push the fight back, and then that's how we ended up on January 2nd, honestly. So, yeah, that's for the date. But everything else for this fight, it's everything that you want it to be for me especially, because I have a lot of questions for Ryan Garcia. I have a lot of questions, a lot of unanswered questions. Actually, I have more questions for Garcia at that 130, 135, that range right there, than I have for the rest of those guys at 135. Probably Devin. Him and Devin have the most questions for, because they've fought the least amount of really good competition. So Luke Campbell is not a slouch. Luke Campbell is the equivalent of what Callum was, but Ryan is not Canelo. So it's almost like this is a real champion. This is the highest level. For Canelo, that wasn't the highest level he's seen, but it's a tall guy, right? Similarities are there. Luke is tall. Luke is the champion. Luke has fought. He only has 2 losses. To I believe to Linares, and I believe to Lomachenko. Double check that. I believe he lost. That's his only 2 losses, and those 2 guys were considered the best of that weight. So yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to see for Ryan. Him fight a world champion in his prime. He has size, he has length, he has all the tools that you need. If Ryan beats this guy and he beats him in dominant fashion, then it looks like I'm buying a ticket on the Ryan Garcia train, baby. Because if he does that, and he really does that, yeah, I'm buying a ticket. Just sign me up. I'm gonna jump on there. Leave me in the back seat though, so people don't know I'm on the train yet. You know what I mean?
For sure. He actually has 3 losses. I'm just looking at it here. He lost to Mendy early in his career. Back in a couple of years ago, back in 2015. But yeah, I like the matchmaking here, because what's one of the biggest complaints about boxing is that oftentimes you see guys built up. I mean, this is a fight where it's really going to determine who the better guy is going forward, right? I know that's very simple of me to say, but oftentimes you see guys sort of on the come up, who's the better guy overall, and that's what we're going to find out in this fight. That's why I like the matchmaking here. And for Garcia, like you said, it's not going to be an easy test for him. It's going to be one of those fights where if he can go out there and dominate, it's going to propel him that much further. This is the type of fight that's going to get him on the map in terms of the grand scale of things, right? Like if he goes out there and puts on a dominant performance, we're going to start talking more about him, because oftentimes when guys are built up, they're fighting easier competition. This Luke Campbell's no slouch, right? Like you were saying.
No slouch at all. This is real deal. This is a real fight. Luke is 29, 30 years old, 32, something like that. He's in his prime. I know that he's in his prime. He's been around, and he may not exactly have a height advantage on him, but he looks long, and he's rangy. He likes to range. He's a rangy fighter. He fights long, and he's right there. And Ryan is 23 years old, 22, 23, and Luke is 32, 33 years old. So it's the perfect fight. Actually, I actually like this fight better for Ryan than I like the Linares fight, because Linares is a little bit past, just a little bit past the prime. He's not done, but he's a little bit past the prime, to where Luke is in the middle of his prime. Like he's right in the middle of it. You know what I mean? So let's see what he does with a guy like that, a former world champion.
Before we move on from this fight, if Garcia wins this fight, what are the options? And conversely for Campbell, what do you think are the options going forward for both fighters?
If I'm Ryan and he wins this fight, and I'm in Ryan's team on his corner, I would look to get Linares in there next, just to get another big name on my resume. Yeah, I would do that. Again, another dangerous fight, but he's in camp with a guy who's known of taking really dangerous fights. Canelo takes all comers and takes. So I'm hoping that this rubs off on him. And at the end of the day, they all want to unify and become undisputed champion. But that's a tough task because you have a guy who has three out of the 4 belts. He really had 4, but they gave that other one to he's the super champion. The other guy's the regular champ, which is Devin Haney. So you wanna build that up a little bit. I think Haney needs to go fight another credible guy. I think that he needs to get going on that. Because they're all chasing Teofimo Lopez at this point. Let's just be honest about it. Teofimo is the guy with all the belts, okay? And they all want what Teofimo has because Teofimo is the guy that beat the guy. He beat Lomachenko, so now he's the guy with all the belts. So, I don't think that it's right now at the time to make that fight between any of those 3 or 4 guys. I don't think next year is the time for that. I think maybe we're 2 years away from, let them be 24, 25, 26. But if they're smart, I would get this guy early. Like if I would try to get Ryan out of the 4 guys. So you have the 4, okay? Here's the fabulous 4: Gervonta Davis, Lopez, Devin Haney, and Ryan Garcia. Those 4 are the main 4 guys at 135. So I think out of those 4. Ryan might be the guy who has most to prove because he's been knocking guys out and he's knocking all these dudes out, and it's like, who are you fighting? And Devin hasn't fought anybody either. So those 2 got a lot to prove. So I think those 2 need 1 or 2, 3 more really solid fights against really credible opponents, and then you can let them fight each other.
Yeah, no, very well said. We got another mega fight also early in the year in the MMA world. Conor McGregor's back. He's going to be fighting Dustin Poirier on Fight Island. I actually wanted to start first with the location of this, with the fact that it is in Abu Dhabi. Producer Taylor, mentioned sort of in the notes here before we started, why not, why is Dana White doing it here as opposed to, going to Texas or Florida where we're starting to see crowds back in there? I do wonder if Dana, sort of looked at the calendar at the tail end of this year and saw the positive COVID cases. And he's kind of like, you know what? We didn't have any positive tests. Well, maybe not any, but there was like very few positive COVID tests when they did the shows in Abu Dhabi. The government's helping them out, tourism board, whatever. I know there's a lot of comps there in terms of hosting there. I have a feeling that's why they're doing the event there. And I'd also wonder if there, again, is some sort of handshake deal there being like, look, we hosted you all this summer in the middle of the pandemic. That is, the Abu Dhabi, people. We need a big fight and we need a Conor McGregor fight. I wonder if that was part of the deal as well. What do you think of them doing this fight, this mega fight in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that they would want to have those big fights over there. Abu Dhabi, I'm talking about. They would want that on a contractual agreement somewhere. That would make sense for them. Yeah, I mean, I think they're just close. How long has this fight been known about? 2 months now?
Yeah, it's been like 2 months. The location, I think it was always sort of known it was going to be on Fight Island, but just because it's I mean, they can't have this fight at the Apex. There's no way. It's just not.
No way.
It's a huge fight, right? So it's same thing with Habib and Gaethje, who was on Fight Island as well. So I think that was sort of their thinking there, was like, hey, this is, our bigger fights are going to be on Fight Island.
Yeah, so they've known about. So this fight has been announced for 2 months. Yeah, I mean, I think he's just going. I think Dana and the UFC are just going through the process of the agreement they have in place. Between the Apex and between Abu Dhabi, where they're doing most of those fights at. I think that his contracts have him in those 2 places. It just makes sense to me. Dana's not the kind of guy. He would see an opportunity and he usually jumps on it. He's never really, so there's a reason why he's not in Texas. There's a reason why he's not in Florida. He has his reasons, and I'm sure that it has something to do with whatever deals he has with Abu Dhabi and those guys. And again, remember, when he went to go find this island for these fights, we didn't know. Like, it was a very scary time because nobody really knew, like, when was sports going to come back? How is it going to work? So I'm assuming that once he did that deal, in March or April or May. No, it was the April, May when he did the deal. The first fight wasn't until June, I believe. So I think that when he signed that deal from then, I think the deal was meant to last longer than that at one time. I think that they plan on doing this until probably a year, or probably into next summer or into the spring at least, So we'll see.
Yeah. But anyways, this fight, obviously, huge implications here. We still don't know if it's for a belt. We're sort of running out of time here. Dana White's supposed to have that meeting with Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think at the time we're at right now, I don't think it will be for a belt, because I think if they're going to do that, they got to, I guess it's going to be 5 rounds regardless, but still you wonder if that's going to be added on a little bit later if Khabib's like, look, I'm not coming back. But it's an interesting rematch for a couple of reasons. This fight's at 155. Their first fight was at 145. Of course, McGregor knocked him out, I think, in the second round when they first fought a couple of years ago. But Poirier's looked good at lightweight. He's had just 2 losses. One was to Michael Johnson, which was, I think, 9 times out of 10, Dustin wins that fight. He got knocked out in that one. And then the other loss is to Khabib. So really, and he's got good wins in there. He's got wins over Gaethje. He's got wins over Max Holloway, who came up and fought for an interim title as well. So Poirier's pretty legit. But it's funny, we were talking about this whole Jake Paul and Ben Askren thing. I see so many people coming out here that are Conor fans that are like, Conor's going to knock him out again in the first round. Like, you're not watching Dustin Poirier's fights if that's what you honestly think. Could Conor do that? Absolutely. But Poirier has gotten better. McGregor hasn't been as active. McGregor's favored in this fight as he should be. He's definitely has sort of that it factor here. But what do you make of this rematch being at 155, Poirier being a little bit more active? It makes things a little bit more intriguing, I think. Yeah,
it's an interesting fight. Don't be surprised if you hear the word interim thrown in there weeks coming into the fight instead of undisputed. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you hear the word interim thrown in there. Secondly, it's an intriguing fight because Dustin has gotten better over the years, and he's got some very good wins over the years. And Conor has actually slowed down over the years. So I think that it was one of those where one guy was here and the other guy was there, and I think that we're right about here. Mm-hmm. I think that's where we're at, maybe closer, tilting, whichever way you want to tilt. If you feel like the guy that was more active, which is Dustin, is better than Conor, or you think Conor is just a little bit better than him. But I think that the scale has definitely tilted, and that this fight is almost a full circle for both guys. It's funny because they kind of needed each other in order to get some type of a credible win at this particular point to kind of change the dynamics at that weight. They both need these wins. Both of them, they need it bad because where does Dustin go? Conor knows where he could go. Conor knows he can pick up the phone. And we could get things popping over there on that side, But this is what he needs to do at 155, and it makes sense for him to try to become a world champion again. So interesting fight. I don't know yet. I think we should. For our predictions between me and you.
We'll wait a little bit. I got to dig into this one a little bit more too, because there's a lot at play here in terms of both fighters. Again, McGregor is, he has that it factor. He does things that you just don't see from every fighter. But conversely, he barely fought. Dustin Poirier's looked great, overall since moving back up. And you know what? Credit to Poirier. A lot of people gave him crap when there was, he was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson, right? And then there was all these money issues and people's like, who's negotiating his contract or whatever. And Ferguson ended up having to fight Charles Oliveira, and Poirier ended up getting the McGregor fight. So in the end, Poirier probably did make more money just by holding out and kind of knowing his value. So I think that's sort of an underrated angle in this, is that Poirier's getting the McGregor fight in the main event. it doesn't get much bigger than that, right? Yeah.
He's always wanted to put himself. He's always butted himself in the big boy talks. He's always viewed himself as the upper echelon of fighters. You'd always see him pop up on Twitter, say this and say that, or probably say this, and I'm talking about from a status standpoint, and from these are the big dogs that sell the pay-per-view. You're right here, bro. You're not here with the rest of these guys. But he's always this is his opportunity to go right here and be one of the guys that sell pay-per-views, because he's not one of the guys that sell pay-per-views. Let's just be honest about it. And Nate was going to give him his opportunity to climb up in those things. And so here's another opportunity for him to do that. So we'll see what he does with it.
One more thing we got to point out on this card. It was announced this week. It's not 100% confirmed, but it looks like Michael Chandler will finally make his UFC debut against Dan Hooker. I like this fight. I think it's a good test for Chandler to make his foray into the UFC. I do wonder if Justin Gaethje was an option just because he just lost the title. I don't know if he wants to come back or not, but with how much they valued Chandler, like this was supposed to be the backup for Gaethje and Khabib. I am a little bit surprised that he's fighting Hooker, who you'd think Gaethje's a bit ahead of him. I figured they might have done that instead, but either way, I'm not complaining about the matchup. It's a good fight and it's much needed because I'm looking at this pay-per-view right now, Kev, and outside of this fight, you've got Jessica Ai and Joanne Calder, you've got Shane Burgos and Hakeem Dawodu, and you've got Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Ribas. That's not going to cut it for a pay-per-view. I know it's McGregor, but like this is supposed to be your big card, your big pay-per-view to kick off 2021. You need some more firepower. I definitely think Hooker and Chandler helps, but I even think they need to add one more fight on here as well, just to really kind of get people interested.
Yeah, I mean that card is, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, they got to add a couple on there, but again, like you got, the UFC wants to humble Conor a little bit, but then you let him carry the load like that. How do you expect him not to? There's no humble. He's gonna carry that card for you guys. You know what I mean? And he's gonna do. And if that card does numbers, we know why it did numbers. It's because of one guy. They came to see that one guy. So if you guys want to make it to where he doesn't have so much leverage over you guys, then maybe you should start stacking these cards a little better so that it all doesn't fall on Conor. Because if this is what the card is, and that card sells, oh shit, you're not gonna hear the last out of that guy. Especially if he wins.
Great point.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to hear the last out of him from the UFC. So you guys better stack that card so that at least some people want to watch some other shit. And you can be like, well, time slot 3, there was 1 million people viewing at that time. So Conor, you didn't get everybody. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean? But again, you guys want to humble this guy, but you can't if you keep doing shit like this because he's going to let you guys know, yo, I carry this pay-per-view. So good luck.
Some other boxing news we got to talk about. Teofimo Lopez, $10 million he's asking to fight Devin Haney. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw that. His dad, him and his dad. It was his dad, really. His dad is...
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured too.
I really like the guy, honestly. I like those dads that just really just believe in their son and believe in them. I love those dads that just like, my son is the best in the world. And, I like it. I love it. Go more power to you, Pops. You know what I'm saying? But 10 million, sheesh. I mean, I don't even think he got. I don't think he even got 2. I don't think he got 2 the last fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think he maybe got 1 or 1.5, if that. So if that, and I'm being generous, honestly, because that's his first world title fight, and yeah, maybe he got 1, maybe he got 1 or 1.5, but I don't think he got 2. No way he got 2. So to go from there to 10 is drastic. And again, you gotta understand, like when you're getting paid this kind of money, that you're asking for, okay, this all counterbalances itself, right? So it's what the promotion spends on the paper on building up the pay-per-view, because that's going to be a pay-per-view. So Taylor just came back in. So Taylor said that Lopez got 1,250,000 and Loma got 3.5 million. See what I'm saying? So so he didn't get $2 million. You see, I believe that. So you're going to go from 1.2 to 10 million.
Jump. Just a big jump.
I mean, first of all, you haven't sold no pay-per-views. Okay, let's just be honest about that. You haven't sold no pay-per-views. Can you sell some pay-per-views first? Can you sell a pay-per-view first? Because I don't think, was that Loma fight a pay-per-view, or that was on TV. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he hasn't even fought on pay-per-view. So it's like this all has to counterbalance itself. If I'm spending $10 million, right? If you're spending $10 million and I'm giving you $10 million, then I know that I'm gonna make X amount because you're gonna sell the pay-per-views. But I can't give you 10 million if you can't sell a pay-per-view. You and Devin can't sell 1 million buys. I'm just being honest. I'm being very honest. So you got to be a little bit. You don't price yourself out neither, and don't do that. Just do things the right way. And if you get 3, okay. If you get 3, 4, okay, get 3 or 4. But 10, and it's you and Devin. Nah, maybe down the line if you guys become something, like if Devin continues to climb and you continue to climb, and then you guys become pay-per-view stars, and then 10 for the can make sense in a year from now, 2 years from now, or a year from now. But I don't know. You beat Loma, which is the best pound for pound guy. Yes, you definitely did it. You beat the best pound for pound fighter in the world. You did it. 100%. But the guy that you beat was not a pay-per-view star. You didn't beat a pay-per-view star. You beat the best fighter pound for pound, but he was not a star. So you got to beat stars to become a star, plain and simple. That's it. And you got to sell pay-per-views to say what kind of money you want. And that's the name of the game.
I was going to say, yeah, it's not enough just to be good in the ring in this case.
No,
good examples in MMA with Stipe Miocic, that comes to mind, right? Great champion, probably one of the best heavyweights of all time, but the guy just does not get people like you look at even the views on his interviews and stuff. It's just people don't gravitate towards it. It's got to be the total package. It's got to be the entertainment side of it as well, where if you're going to go out there and you're going to demand that type of money, look, everyone wants to see everyone get paid, but there's got to be the viewership for it, and you got to get people interested. And that's why like a Conor McGregor can get what he's getting as opposed to, other people, right? So it's,
he's going to carry that pay-per-view. It's the incentives.
Exactly.
Like it's like, can you sell these pay-per-views? Can you sell it? If you can sell it, I'll give you the money. If you can't sell it, I'm not giving you the money. It's very simple. That's what these guys gotta understand. Fighters gotta understand that you gotta sell pay-per-view. If you can't do it, you can't just be out here saying, pay me this, pay me that. Can you sell pay-per-view? And if I'm selling pay-per-view at $65 and you break the $1 million, you break the million sale, the million buy scale, then it's very profitable, right? Just 65 million, you're generating at that point off of pay-per-view sales. So if I pay, you're worth 10 million. If you're going to make me 65 million back on pay-per-view buys alone, you're worth me paying you 10 million. You know what I'm saying? But you're not worth 10 million if you can't sell 200,000, 300,000 pay-per-views. And honestly, what would a Devin Haney versus Garcia, or Devin Haney versus what's the young man we're talking about? Lopez, do you think that doesn't sell more than 300,000? That doesn't sell. I don't even think. And that Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia, what did that do last week? 250, 300, 300,000.
Yeah,
300,000. Lopez and Haney don't sell more than that.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Very.
And how much did those guys get paid? How much did he get paid? He got paid 2 million, 3 million each guy.
Yeah, it was probably less than 3, right? I would think. We're waiting to get in the notes, but yeah, it's you bring up a lot of great points. It's supply and demand, right? It's what people want to see. If they're going to pay for it, you got to bring more to the table than just a good record, right? That's how combat. That's the world of prize fighting, as they say, right?
Correct.
Now, we started the show off talking about Canelo. We're going to end the show talking about Canelo. Eddie Hearn. I don't know if you've heard some of his interviews recently, or there's videos popping around. Is he Canelo's secret promoter here? Is that kind of what we're seeing? Just the way he's talking about Canelo and talking about all these fights. Like, have you seen some of the stuff lately?
Side note: Errol Spence made $8 million, and then he made $5 million.
Oh, God.
You gotta love Al Heyman, man. Oh man, Al Heyman, my man. Oh man, you go with Al, you get paid. That's all I know. That's all I know. Wow, 8 million and 5 million. That's impressive. But Eddie Hearn, that's my boy, man. I love Eddie, man. That's my boy.
That guy's awesome.
That's my boy, man. He's a good dude. He's doing well in this sport, and he's really. I mean, just think about it. Like, let's think about it for a second. Take Eddie Hearn out of the equation of boxing right now. It's pretty boring, isn't it?
100%.
You got a bunch of old dudes, dude. Al Heyman don't come out the house. Bob is not 105 years old. Who else? Who else is left? You have Dana with the UFC. Who else you got? That's
Scott
really
Coker's pretty old in Bellator. You're
Oscar,
right.
Oscar is just that plane is just slowly crashing. So Eddie Hearn makes things exciting. He's young. He's putting fights together. He's brash. So he's a good guy to do business with. At least from everything that I've known, from my relationship with him, it's been good. And every other fighter, nobody really had nothing bad to say. Everybody just hates when he favors AJ over this guy or that. But that's his golden goose.
And when it comes down to it, but that's what we love so much about him, is that you can see the passion in the sport. It's not he's he's willing to think outside the box. When he sees a YouTuber take a boxing fight, he's not scorning at this. He's saying this is a good financial opportunity, right? That's why guys like Bob Arum, unfortunately, they're kind of lost touch in a lot of ways with a lot of things because they still have that old school mentality. Times are changing, And
Eddie's the one that took the chance on that, So kudos to him to open up this new lane and so on and so forth. But back to Eddie and Canelo. Mm-hmm. Eddie and Canelo's relationship is reminding me of when Floyd Mayweather was running through all the Golden Boy fighters. he just ran through like 12 of them in a row. Like it was just I know. Like every time they'd be at a press conference for a fight, there'd be the fighter, there'd be Floyd there and his team, and you look across, there's the fighter, and who's sitting beside him? Oscar De La Hoya. Every time you look across, it's Oscar De La Hoya with the fighter like that. Like how many Golden Boy guys did Floyd beat in like from like 03, 04 to like 2012? Like he beat 15. He beat a lot of Golden Boy guys. So this is the third Matchroom guy that that Canelo has beat so far. Third, maybe four. Yeah. So he beat both Smith brothers. But both of those guys, I believe, were Matchroom guys, if I'm not mistaken. And he beat probably one more guy that's a Matchroom guy. But I think this is a good relationship for him because a lot of those European guys are bigger weight guys, 68, 75, 60, somewhere in that range right there. So that's perfect weight for Canelo. And after watching him, I don't even know. It's hard to say if he can make 60. I think he could, but he just looks really big, bro.
He's filling into his frame. I mean, we got to remember how much older he is now. Like you think of when the Floyd fight was years ago, and like how he looked there and to how he looks now. Like he's a big guy, right? Dude. Like that metabolism don't slow down when you get older, right? So,
dude, he's a tank. It's so crazy when you think about it. He's only 30 years old, but he feels like he's been around forever. He just turned 30. So. You think he's 32, 33. No, the dude's 30. He just turned 30. So it's going to be an interesting fight. And I like that relationship. I think that because Billy Joe is with Eddie Hearn. I believe Andretti is with Eddie Hearn. That's another guy at 60 or 68. So there's a lot of guys at 60 and 68 that are all with Eddie Hearn that are perfect guys to line up for Canelo. And Triple G's with Eddie Hearn too. Right. So it's all so he looks like he may run through that Matchroom roster in the next 2 years real quickly.
And there goes another show in the books. Kev, thanks so much for doing this, man. It's always good talking combat sports with you. I hope everyone has a happy holiday. Anything you got to plug, man? We'll get you on the floor here before we take off.
Any fights this weekend? Is there any fights? No, right?
No, it's Christmas Friday, so I think people are just taking it easy. Maybe there is. I need to like a degenerate gambler to let me know if there is like some like offshore fight going on. I'm sure there is. There has to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, Happy New Year's to everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody. We're looking forward to seeing you guys as soon as the calendar turns. We're really excited about what's coming with this podcast, and so. Happy holidays to everybody, and peace out.
Yes, and quickly, got to plug my Twitter handle at Lynch on Sports. Make sure you hit the like button on this channel. We're trying to grow the channel as fast as we can. We got a ton of content up there already. Talked to Misha Tate last week. That blew up everywhere. She wants to grapple Chris Cyborg. She talked about Carissa Shields going to boxing. And we got Chris Weidman. I don't know if you saw, Kev, but that story got picked up everywhere because Weidman says, look, if I don't win this fight, I'm probably getting cut. Very honest words from Chris Weidman last week about his upcoming fight against Uriah Hall, which is going to be taking place later on. But over here at Fanatics View, we get him early. When the fight's announced, we get him on right away. So
that was a good interview with you, with Misha. That was a great interview.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Misha's great. And it's cool that she's moving back to Vegas. So, there's some talk about her maybe coming back to MMA. She kind of a little hesitant on there, but didn't close the door either. Here's the thing with Misha, quickly before we get out of here. She's still got 6 fights left in her UFC contract. So if she ever does want to come out, she can't go fight elsewhere. She has to stay with the UFC. It's sort of the way her contract works.
Isn't it crazy? It's how the whole contract works. Isn't it crazy how you can go away and you're still under contract? I mean, we're dealing with that situation right now, so I understand. I understand. But yeah, kudos to her. So see you soon, Misha, if you're gonna be back out here.
Yeah,
and peace and love to everybody.
And I hope you guys all have a great holiday. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys soon, and stay safe.